Let us start by examining the radio component of the universe, beginning with the Milky Way galaxy. The Milky Way galaxy is a mirror image of these technologies that we see here. The electromagnetic field produced by the Milky Way galaxy, by the Sun, by the Earth, as well as by humans and all life on Earth, is a mirror image of the electromagnetic field produced by a radio antenna, and this includes a remote control unit antenna. We have a system of electromagnetic fields inside electromagnetic fields inside electromagnetic fields, including the types produced by a remote control antenna. So the question remains, are we remote control units, or are we being remote controlled? The system of electromagnetic fields inside electromagnetic fields is the same setup as a source relay destination diagram. Now, I don't know if humans are remote control units, but the electromagnetic fields produced by humans are the same type of the recipient of a remote control unit and the remote control unit itself. The electromagnetic fields produced by the human organs are also the equivalent of radio signals. The same could be said of DNA. Now, there is a theory out there that DNA molecules are fractal antennas, but I say that DNA molecules are helical antennas. They produce an electromagnetic field just like antennas and radio inductor coils. DNA molecules are antennas, whether they be fractal antennas or helical antennas. Of a DNA molecule is pretty much a mirror image of a helical antenna or inductor coil. Inductor coils are used for tuning. The electromagnetic field produced by DNA is the equivalent of a radio signal. The same thing could be said for the human body at large. Humans produce the equivalent of radio signals. Humans are some kind of antenna or transceiver units. The same thing could be said about the organs in our bodies. Key words: electromagnetic field lines. Humans are antennas. Our organs are antennas. The universe is alive with electromagnetic signals, the equivalent of radio signals. And this includes the Earth, as you can see. The electromagnetic field produced by the Earth and the other living planets are largely produced by the motions inside their cores, which I am not going to get into right now. But the electromagnetic field lines of the Earth and the other living planets and moons are identical to the electromagnetic field lines produced by these bits and pieces of radio equipment you see here. The solar system emits radio waves, and this is because the planets are radio antennas, as we could see. The internal and external structure and dynamics of planets like the Earth, as well as the Moon, which used to generate an electromagnetic field hundreds of millions of years ago, but they're structurally identical to antennas like we can see here. We are antennas. The planets are antennas. This includes the Sun. The Sun is structured like an antenna. The Sun, more specifically, is some kind of plasma antenna. Plasma antennas use, I think, ionized gas as opposed to the metal elements that we are used to. The Sun produces an electromagnetic field that engulfs all the planets in the solar system and their moons. It is called a heliosphere, but I am not going to go into that right now. I think the sun is probably some kind of router antenna, Wi-Fi router. We have a system of antennas inside antennas inside antennas inside antennas. This includes the antenna of the Milky Way galaxy. Our Milky Way galaxy is some kind of spiral antenna. Our solar system is the antenna unit inside the antenna of the Milky Way galaxy. These are some examples of some antennas and radio inductor coils. We cannot deny the similarities, and we also cannot deny the fact that the spiral galaxies produce an electromagnetic field just like spiral antennas and inductor coils. There was no effort on my part to differentiate between inductor coils and antennas, except to say that radio inductor coils are used to separate incoming radio signals of different frequencies. The radio coils and spiral antennas that you see also generate the same types and shapes of electromagnetic fields generated by spiral galaxies, in addition to being made of the same chemical elements as spiral galaxies. The same could be said of electronic and electrical equipment of any kind, which in my mind means that the universe is electronic and electrical equipment disguised as Mother Nature, I believe. I need to add here that some of you may have seen some of this material, and that is because I am reusing some of this material, because these videos take like 6 months just to produce one video. So I am going to get the most out of these things that I can, but in each and every video I do introduce new material and new concepts. So if you have seen videos like this, then if you watch this, there is something new inside here that you have not seen before. Another example of my universe as technoverse theory being that the suns and planets and moons and spiral galaxies like our Milky Way appear to be arranged within the rings of spiral galaxies, as if they were antenna elements arranged inside much larger spiral Archimedes radio transceiver antennas as integral parts of these antennas. The living planets and moons also generate the equivalent of radio signals, by the way, in addition to being structured like spherical transceiver antennas in the antenna unit of the solar system at large. It is also significant that many types of spiral antennas have their signal feed pins or apertures or something equivalent at their centers. Like these examples, these pins and apertures do their parts to receive and or transmit radio signals, just like radio waves are probably being pulled in by black holes, in addition to being emitted at or near black holes, including by their accretion disks. It seems that the black hole at the center of the Milky Way is some kind of spherical antenna, an isotropic antenna. It radiates radio waves outwardly equally in all directions. The role as a radio antenna is one of the many roles, I believe, that is being played by the black hole at the center of our galaxy. And probably the same could be said for the other black holes distributed throughout our galaxy. Also bear in mind as we move along that I am aware that I am conceptually cheating a little bit for the sake of aesthetics. Nonetheless, however, it could be observed that spiral galaxies structurally resemble and meekly function like particle accelerators, insofar that stars and planets and moons and spiral galaxies like our Milky Way are arranged inside the rings of these galaxies as if in the rings of particle accelerators, as well as circulating and sometimes even colliding within these rings, just like atomic and subatomic particles colliding inside the rings of particle accelerators. And I know the galaxies aren't real-life particle accelerators, by the way. There are more than a few types of particle accelerators that I am not going to linger on, and with no effort to differentiate or explain in detail what these machines are used for, except to say that these particle accelerators are in part respectively used for particle physics research, biomedical imaging, and the production of radioisotopes, plus other applications. And although the electromagnetic fields flowing through the rings of spiral galaxies are not nearly as strong as the electromagnetic fields running through the rings of these particle accelerators we are looking at, except at and near their cores, it doesn't change the fact that the stars and dust and gas are flowing through the rings of spiral galaxies, just like atoms and subatomic particles are flowing through particle accelerators, as just noted. And with no regard for size and scale, it appears what we are looking at here is a fusion of communications, biosensing, computing, and other technologies that appear to be integral parts of spiral galaxies, with non-spiral galaxies playing their technological roles as well, but that will not be included in this video. With more data bursting to keep the ball rolling as we all at once and simultaneously compare the structure and dynamics of spiral galaxies like our Milky Way with the structure and dynamics of these technologies that I hope are adequately labeled. We can see with our own eyes how the stars and planets and moons are arranged and moving through the arms of our Milky Way galaxy, just like microscopic specimens and data and radio signals and particles and so forth moving through their respective mediums, just like cells and particulates and spiral microfluidic biosensors and particulate separation devices are flowing through spiral rings in orbit around the inlet valve as they move through the spiral rings of these microfluidic devices.
There is also a theory out there called the fluid universe theory. So this would be consistent with my spiral galaxies as microfluidic sensors theory.
So notice how everything seems to be in just the right place, like the distribution of the black holes and the stars and spiral galaxies relative to the distribution of where the activity is transpiring in these technologies we are comparing, like the respective inlet and outlet orifices and valves. This includes the inlets and outlets in these lab-on-chip biosensor devices compared to the location of the booster rings and target areas of synchrotrons and cyclotrons with our solar system in just the right place, or so it seems.
I cannot cover all the bases, and I do not know entirely or claim to know what the meaning of all this is, but the inertial and centrifugal force and other forces exerted by the Milky Way galaxy are consistent with the dynamics of these technologies that we see here.
And the Milky Way and other spiral galaxies do produce synchrotron radiation, which helps produce the radio waves of our Milky Way galaxy, which follow the spiral arms of the Milky Way as a primary component of the radio antenna component of the Milky Way. And bearing in mind that the Milky Way is spinning at millions of miles an hour, the Milky Way is also virtually identical to optical and magnetic data disks and centrifugal lab-on-disk biodisks like these here, as well as made of many of the same chemical elements, I presume. The same could be said of any of these spiral technologies compared to these spiral galaxies. The spiral galaxies appear to be fusions of computer technology and biosensor technology, as well as communications technology and some kind of particle accelerator technology and so forth, with their bits and pieces arranged inside their respective spiral structures that absolutely resemble and function, not unlike lab-on-chips and data disks, biodisks, particle accelerators, and antennas, plus other technologies I did not include.
We have already discussed how the Milky Way galaxy is some kind of laboratory on a chip, but the same thing could be said for the Earth. Earth is a spherical laboratory on a chip. Some of these are otherwise known as optical and or magnetic microsphere biosensors, of which there is a huge variety, and they all use the forces of light and or magnetism as excitation and analytics agents, just like these examples here in no particular order, with the sun and moon respectively serving as light sources and optical pickup diode, sensor, lens, device. What is especially significant is the structural and probably chemical similarities between the structure of the Earth and these microsphere biosensors. What is doubly significant here at this point, however, is that microsphere biosensors have been merged with centrifugal microfluidic biosensor disks like those we looked at earlier, with this new fusion of biosensor technology being used as a high-speed disease detection platform with the help of centrifugal force, not unlike the centrifugal force of our Milky Way galaxy. So what we have here is a little biosensor inside of a big biosensor, a big machine harboring a little machine. This merger of a big sensor with little sensors includes what are called Janus microspheres, which are named after the god with two faces. These microspheres or nanoparticles have two or more customized surfaces that enable two diverse types of chemistry to transpire at once. The Earth appears to be structured like these Janus biosensors, and we all know that there are multiple types of chemistry transpiring on the Earth. With these two examples of biodisks with built-in sensors that were hard to find on the internet, to say the least, with their solar system being mathematically located perfectly in our Milky Way inside the ring of the Orion spur relative to the location of these sensors in these centrifugal microfluidic biodisks. This includes the location of the Orion spur relative to what is called the Perseus transit in our Milky Way galaxy. As we can see here, the location of what is called the Perseus transit is in the exact same relative location as the junction between components on this microfluidic disk that we see here. And I am going to start wrapping this up by saying that if I get enough thumbs up and or subscribers, then I will do a video specifically dedicated to what are called networks on chips. The galaxies aren't just labs on chips and antennas and so forth. They are also networks on chips, especially the spiral galaxies. If you like this video, give it the thumbs up and subscribe and share this video. I have other videos out there under Cybernetic Universe. Leave questions or comments.